The truth is, your life won't change because you hope for it, wish for it, or wait for it. It changes the moment you decide to break the cycle you've been trapped in. Transformation is not an accident, it's a process, a simple one, but one that demands honesty, courage, and commitment. Every meaningful change begins within you long before it shows up in your circumstances. And once you understand this, you unlock a level of power you've had all along. The first part of the process is awareness. Nothing can change until you're willing to see your life clearly, your habits, your excuses, your patterns, your fears, and the stories you keep repeating. Most people stay stuck because they refuse to face themselves. They blame circumstances, timing, luck, or other people. But the moment you choose self-awareness, you reclaim your power. You start noticing which choices lift you and which ones drain you. You recognize how much of your life has been shaped by default instead of intention. Awareness is not about guilt or shame, it's about clarity. It shows you where you are so you can finally decide where you're going. The second part is decision, real decision, not the kind you think about, talk about, or plan someday, but the kind you commit to fully. Life doesn't change when you want something. It changes when you decide you will no longer accept anything less than the life you're capable of living. A true decision creates a shift inside you. It closes the door to the old path and opens the door to the new one. It removes the option of quitting. It removes the option of excuses. It removes the option of going back to who you used to be. Decisions become anchors. They define your direction and set the standard for your future. Once you decide, the entire universe begins rearranging itself around that choice. The third part of the process is action. Not perfect action, not comfortable action, not convenient action, just action. Movement is what separates dreamers from doers, intentions from outcomes, potential from reality. You don't need to know every step. You don't need to feel fully ready. You just need to begin. Every great transformation starts with a small step. Sending the email, learning the skill, changing the routine, setting the boundary, showing up differently. Action builds momentum. Momentum builds confidence. Confidence builds consistency. And consistency builds a new life. This process, awareness, decision, action seems simple, but it's powerful because it shifts the control of your life back into your hands. When you become aware, you stop living by autopilot. When you decide, you stop drifting and start leading. When you act, you create results instead of waiting for them. Most people live their entire lives stuck between intention and execution. They know what they want but never move because fear holds them still. But once you start, once you take that first imperfect step, fear begins to lose its power. You realize the obstacles were never as big as you imagined. They only look that way from a distance. This three-step process doesn't require talent, resources, or perfection. It requires honesty with yourself, willingness to let go of the past, and the courage to step into something new. Your future is shaped by what you do repeatedly, and this process becomes a cycle you return to every time you evolve. You gain awareness again at a higher level. You make new decisions aligned with your growth. You take new actions that elevate your life even more. Change becomes a continuous flow, not a one-time event. Your life can shift dramatically, but only if you choose to participate in your own transformation. You have more power than you realize. You have more potential than you've ever used. And you have the ability to start right now. Not when things are easier, not when everything is perfect, but in this moment. Awareness shows you the truth. Decision shows you the path. Action gets you there. This is the process that can change your life, but only if you give yourself permission to begin. Awareness is the foundation of transformation because it acts as the light that exposes everything you've been doing on autopilot. Most of the time, people move through life repeating the same behaviors, reacting to situations the same way, and holding on to beliefs they never question. They wonder why things don't change, why progress feels slow, and why success seems to stay out of reach. But change can't happen when you don't even realize what needs to be changed. Awareness is the moment the fog begins to clear. It's the moment you finally recognize the patterns that have quietly shaped your life for years. And once you see them, you can no longer pretend they don't exist. That is where transformation begins. Awareness lets you understand yourself at a deeper level. It shows you why you react the way you do, why certain situations trigger you, and why some goals feel harder than they should. It reveals the invisible beliefs running in the background beliefs you might have absorbed from childhood, society, or past experiences. You start to notice thoughts like, I'm not good enough, I don't deserve success, or things never work out for me. These beliefs may not have been spoken out loud, but they've influenced every decision you've made. Without awareness, these beliefs quietly limit your potential. With awareness, they lose their power because you can finally challenge and change them. As your awareness grows, you begin to recognize your patterns. You notice how you avoid discomfort, how you procrastinate at the edge of progress, or how you retreat whenever something feels challenging. You may see how you fall into the same emotional cycles: frustration, self-doubt, comparison, or blaming external circumstances. These patterns don't mean you're flawed, they mean you're human. But becoming aware of them gives you a chance to interrupt them. You can catch yourself in the moment and choose differently. That choice is the first step toward breaking the cycle. Awareness also helps you understand your habits, both helpful and harmful. Many habits are automatic scrolling your phone when you're stressed, repeating negative self-talk, avoiding tough conversations, or giving up too soon. These behaviors might feel small, but repeated daily, they shape your life. Once you become aware of them, you can trace them back to their origin. Why do you distract yourself? Why do you hold back? Why do you settle? Awareness helps you uncover the root causes, not just the symptoms. And when you understand the root, you gain the power to change everything built upon it. The beauty of awareness is that it gives you clarity, and clarity gives you direction. When you know exactly what is holding you back, you don't waste time guessing or searching for solutions outside yourself. You stop trying random strategies, hoping one will magically work. Instead, you become intentional. You start making choices that align with your goals, not your old patterns. You begin to build habits that support your future, not your past. You become someone who acts with purpose instead of someone who drifts without intention. Awareness also increases emotional intelligence. You start observing your emotions instead of being overwhelmed by them. Instead of reacting impulsively, you understand where the emotion is coming from and what message it is trying to send. You realize anger might be covering fear, frustration might signal unmet expectations, and sadness might mean you've been ignoring your needs. When you can see your emotional landscape clearly, you respond with wisdom instead of reacting from confusion. This leads to healthier relationships, better communication, and a stronger sense of inner peace. Another powerful aspect of awareness is how it transforms your perception of challenges. Instead of seeing them as problems, you begin to see them as feedback. If something keeps happening, awareness helps you question why. If you keep attracting similar situations or repeating similar mistakes, awareness helps you understand the underlying cause. This shift in perspective is transformative. Challenges stop being obstacles and become opportunities for growth. You no longer feel like life is happening to you. You feel like you are actively shaping your life with every insight. Awareness also breaks the illusion of helplessness. When you notice your patterns and understand your beliefs, you realize you have far more control over your life than you once thought. You are not stuck because of circumstances, but because of unconscious habits and unexamined thoughts. And the moment you see that clearly, you reclaim your power. You recognize that change is not about forcing yourself into a new version, but about shedding everything that no longer serves you. Awareness brings truth, and truth brings freedom. When you see yourself honestly, your strengths, your weaknesses, your triggers, your talents, you become capable of creating real transformation. You stop chasing external fixes and start working from the inside out. Transformation becomes natural because you are no longer fighting against yourself. You are guiding yourself with understanding, compassion, and clarity. Ultimately, awareness is the first step to any meaningful change. It opens your eyes to who you've been, who you are, and who you can become. It invites you to take responsibility for your life, not with judgment, but with empowerment. And once you become aware, you can never go back to living unconsciously. You step into a new level of self-understanding that allows growth to unfold in every area of your life. Honest self-reflection is one of the most powerful tools you can cultivate because it forces you to confront the truth about yourself without the comforting veil of denial. Most people live much of their lives avoiding the hard questions, ignoring the habits, choices, or beliefs that keep them stuck. They tell themselves stories that protect their ego, like I just need more time, it's not my fault, or I'm waiting for the right opportunity. These stories feel safe because they justify inaction, but in reality, they are chains. They prevent growth, diminish self-respect, and keep your potential locked away. Honest self-reflection cuts through those stories. It requires courage because seeing the truth about yourself is rarely comfortable. It requires admitting mistakes, recognizing weaknesses, and confronting patterns you'd rather ignore. But this honesty is precisely what breaks the cycle that keeps you trapped. The first step in self-reflection is creating the willingness to look at yourself without judgment. This is not about self-criticism or shame, it is about clarity and understanding. You examine your habits, your decisions, and your emotions with the intention of learning rather than punishing. You ask yourself hard questions. Why do I repeat this pattern? Why do I allow certain circumstances to control me? Why do I keep making the same mistakes? By doing so, you begin to uncover the invisible narratives that have been directing your life. These narratives, often formed in childhood or from repeated past experiences, operate unconsciously, influencing your choices without your awareness. Honest self-reflection brings these narratives to the surface, and once they are visible, you gain the power to change them. Self-reflection also exposes denial, the refusal to accept reality as it is. Denial is comfortable because it allows you to avoid responsibility and postpone action. You might blame circumstances, other people, or sheer luck for your current state, but in doing so, you give away your power. Honest self-reflection refuses to accept excuses. It challenges you to take ownership of your life. It asks, what role have I played in creating this situation? Where have I been avoiding responsibility? What am I willing to do differently? By confronting these questions, you begin to reclaim the power that denial has hidden from you. You see clearly where you have control and where you can make changes. Another critical aspect of honest self-reflection is facing uncomfortable truths about your behavior and choices. You might discover that fear has kept you from pursuing opportunities, that procrastination has limited your growth, or that self-doubt has stopped you from speaking up. These realizations are rarely easy, but they are essential. Every time you acknowledge a truth about yourself, you remove its power over you. Patterns that once controlled your life start losing their grip because awareness is the first step toward transformation. When you face your mistakes and weaknesses without hiding, you also uncover your strengths and resilience, which often remain unnoticed until contrasted with your areas for growth. Self-reflection also helps you identify recurring patterns and cycles in your life. Many people experience similar challenges repeatedly, whether in relationships, work, or personal growth. At first, these patterns feel like coincidences or external misfortune, but honest reflection reveals the connection. You might notice that certain behaviors or choices consistently lead to outcomes you don't want. Recognizing these cycles allows you to interrupt them. Once you see the pattern, you can make conscious decisions to act differently, replacing old habits with new behaviors that align with the life you want to create. This is how self-reflection transforms insight into action. Emotional honesty is another vital component. Many people avoid examining their emotional responses, hiding behind anger, frustration, or denial. Honest self-reflection invites you to ask, why do I feel this way? What is this emotion telling me about my values, desires, or unmet needs? Exploring your emotional landscape, you gain insight into yourself that is impossible to achieve through surface-level thinking alone. Emotions are not obstacles, they are guides. When you examine them honestly, they become a source of wisdom, helping you make choices that are aligned with your authentic self. Self-reflection also empowers you to make better decisions moving forward. When you understand your past actions, choices, and consequences clearly, you no longer repeat them unconsciously. You become intentional. You start living deliberately rather than reacting. You choose responses instead of impulses. You build habits that reinforce growth instead of maintaining comfort zones. Honest self-reflection transforms reactive living into proactive living. It allows you to act with awareness, purpose, and confidence. Finally, self-reflection strengthens your personal power because it reconnects you with your agency. When you stop blaming external circumstances or others for your life and start seeing your role, you reclaim control. You realize that while you can't change the past, you can influence your future. You become aware that the quality of your life is not determined by luck or external factors, but by your choices, your mindset, and your willingness to grow. This realization is liberating. It is the moment you stop being a passenger in your own life and start driving. In essence, honest self-reflection is a mirror that shows you both the truth of your limitations and the power of your potential. It breaks the chains of denial, uncovers excuses, reveals patterns, and reconnects you with your personal power. It is uncomfortable, it is demanding, and it is necessary. The more you practice it, the clearer your path becomes, and the more confidently you can shape your life with intention, purpose, and authenticity. A true decision is far more than a fleeting thought or a momentary wish. It is a commitment that sparks an internal shift and sets the course for meaningful change in your life. Many people believe that simply wanting something is enough to make it happen, but desire alone does not create transformation. A true decision, on the other hand, is a conscious choice that eliminates hesitation, excuses, and old patterns, creating a new momentum that cannot be easily stopped. It is the moment when you move from indecision to action, from dreaming to doing, and from hoping for change to intentionally creating it. The first effect of a true decision is clarity. When you make a firm choice, your mind stops wandering between options and starts focusing on a single path. Indecision drains energy, causes frustration, and keeps you trapped in cycles of inaction. But when you commit fully, the noise in your mind quiets. You no longer ask, what if, or should I, because the answer is no longer uncertain. You know where you are going, and this clarity acts as a compass, guiding every thought, behavior, and action toward the life you intend to build. The internal shift occurs immediately. Your mental energy that once fueled doubt is now redirected to progress and commitment. A true decision also closes the door on old behaviors. It requires recognizing which habits, routines, responses no longer serve your goals and letting them go. These old behaviors are often comfortable, familiar, and deceptively safe, which is why many people resist change. They may have spent years leaning on excuses, avoiding responsibility, or maintaining patterns that offer temporary relief, but long-term stagnation. A true decision doesn't allow for half measures. It signals to your mind and body that the old way is over, that continuing with familiar but limiting behaviors is no longer an option. This is the moment where transformation begins, because change always demands leaving behind the version of yourself that is holding you back. Eliminating excuses is another critical aspect of a true decision. Excuses are often disguised as justifications, reasons you tell yourself to delay action or avoid responsibility. I don't have time, I'm not ready, I need more resources, or it's not the right moment, are all forms of excuse that keep potential locked away. When you make a genuine decision, you strip away these justifications. You accept that conditions will never be perfect and that waiting for them is a trap. You recognize that the only thing standing between where you are and where you want to be is your commitment. In this sense, a decision is liberating because it forces you to reclaim control and stop outsourcing responsibility to circumstances. A true decision also demands emotional commitment. It is easy to say yes to something in theory, but committing fully requires aligning your emotions, intentions, and actions. It means embracing discomfort, facing fear, and persisting through uncertainty. When you make a real decision, you no longer rely on motivation or fleeting inspiration, which are temporary and unreliable. Instead, you cultivate determination and discipline, which sustain you even when challenges arise. The internal shift occurs because your identity begins to align with the choice you have made. You start seeing yourself as someone who follows through, someone capable of sticking to a path even when it is difficult. Another significant effect of a true decision is momentum. Once the choice is made and internalized, action becomes inevitable. You no longer deliberate endlessly or postpone taking steps toward your goals. Momentum is generated naturally because the decision has created a psychological commitment that drives behavior. Each action reinforces the decision, and the progress gain feeds your confidence, determination, and sense of purpose. In this way, a single moment of decision can set off a chain reaction that propels your life forward in ways that prolonged indecision never could. A true decision also rewires your mindset. By committing fully to a chosen path, you begin to see obstacles as opportunities rather than threats. Challenges no longer feel like reasons to quit, but tests of your resolve and growth. You stop doubting yourself because the act of decision itself demonstrates your willingness to take responsibility and embrace the consequences. The mental clarity, focus, and confidence that emerge from a committed decision are transformative because they change the way you perceive yourself, your abilities, and the world around you. Importantly, a true decision is not about impulsivity or blind optimism. It is about alignment, intention, and responsibility. It involves understanding the stakes, evaluating the options honestly, and then choosing to act without reservation. It means being willing to pay the price for growth, to sacrifice short-term comfort for long-term fulfillment, and to accept that setbacks are part of the process rather than reasons to abandon the path. When this level of commitment is present, your internal state shifts profoundly. You are no longer fragmented between desire and action. You are unified, focused, and fully invested in the direction you have chosen. Ultimately, a true decision is the catalyst for transformation. It brings clarity, eliminates old habits, removes excuses, builds momentum, and reshapes your mindset. It signals to yourself and the universe that you are ready to evolve, grow, and take control of your life. It is the point where intention becomes action, where possibility becomes reality, and where your personal power is fully reclaimed. By making decisions with honesty, courage, and commitment, you create a life that reflects your highest potential and aligns with the person you are capable of becoming. Action is the bridge between intention and reality because without it, even the clearest goals, strongest desires, and deepest commitments remain nothing more than ideas. Many people spend their lives planning, visualizing, and dreaming about the life they want, yet they struggle to move beyond thought into tangible results. They wait for motivation to strike, for perfect conditions to appear, or for clarity to arrive, thinking that action will naturally follow. The truth is, action doesn't wait for permission. It is the very thing that transforms intention into reality. Every meaningful accomplishment in history, every personal victory, and every life change began with someone taking a step forward, even when the step was uncertain, uncomfortable, or imperfect. Action converts energy into results. It is one thing to think about what you want, but it is another to do what it takes to make it happen. When you act, you start producing outcomes, testing your strategies, and discovering what works and what doesn't. Even small actions create ripples that grow over time. A single phone call, a short practice session, or a modest improvement in daily habits may seem insignificant at first, but the accumulation of these steps compounds into transformative change. The key is consistency. Repeated action builds momentum, and momentum becomes unstoppable, turning what once seemed impossible into inevitable progress. Taking action also dissolves fear. Many people hesitate because they are afraid of failure, judgment, or uncertainty. The longer you wait, the larger these fears grow in your mind. Action, even small action, confronts fear directly. Each step forward proves to yourself that you are capable, that mistakes are not fatal, and that progress is possible. Fear loses its power because you learn through doing that the obstacles you imagined are rarely as insurmountable as you thought. Momentum from action replaces doubt with confidence, inertia with energy, and hesitation with courage. Another powerful effect of action is learning. Theory, planning, and reflection are valuable, but they are incomplete without application. Action teaches in ways thinking alone never can. Each step exposes gaps in your knowledge, skills, and mindset, providing feedback that guides your next move. Mistakes, setbacks, and unexpected outcomes are not failures. They are lessons embedded in the process. Through action, you gain insight, sharpen your abilities, and develop resilience. This iterative process of doing, reflecting, and adjusting accelerates growth in a way that planning alone never can. Action also cultivates discipline. Motivation is fleeting, But discipline is built through consistent movement toward a goal, regardless of how you feel in the moment. There will be days when energy is low, distractions are high, or excitement is faded. But action does not depend on emotion, it depends on commitment. By taking steps consistently, even when it feels difficult, you strengthen your ability to follow through, creating a foundation of reliability and self-trust that becomes the cornerstone of lasting achievement. This discipline eventually becomes a habit, and habits are the architecture of success. Furthermore, action bridges the gap between vision and reality by creating tangible progress that motivates you to continue. Seeing the results of your efforts, no matter how small, reinforces your belief in your own capability. It provides proof that change is possible, that your choices matter, and that effort produces real outcomes. Each completed task, each solved problem, and each milestone reached builds confidence, reinforces positive momentum, and inspires you to take the next step. Without action, intentions remain abstract, and dreams remain unfulfilled. Action also develops resilience. Life is unpredictable, and the path to any meaningful goal will inevitably include obstacles and setbacks. Taking action teaches you to adapt, persevere, and navigate challenges. Each step forward, even when imperfect, strengthens your capacity to handle adversity. You learn that progress is rarely linear, that discomfort is part of growth, and that persistence often matters more than immediate results. The habit of taking action despite uncertainty builds mental toughness, problem-solving skills, and emotional strength, all of which become assets in every area of life. Small, consistent actions accumulate in ways that are often invisible at first but undeniable over time. Just as a river carves a canyon through persistence, repeated effort transforms your life through compounding results. The person who writes a page every day, exercises a few minutes each morning, or practices a skill consistently may not notice daily improvement, but months and years later, the cumulative effect is extraordinary. This principle highlights that action does not have to be grand or spectacular to be powerful. It only has to be consistent and intentional. Ultimately, action is the mechanism that transforms intention into reality, dreams into achievements, and plans into outcomes. It dissolves fear, generates momentum, produces learning, strengthens discipline, builds resilience, and compounds small victories into monumental change. Without action, vision remains abstract and goals remain distant. With action, even the smallest step can start a chain reaction that alters the trajectory of your life. Every time you act, you claim ownership of your future, demonstrate your commitment, and move one step closer to the person you are capable of becoming. The bridge between intention and reality is not found in waiting, hoping, or planning. It is built step by step, moment by moment, through action.